Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Stephanie Venniclausen, and today we will be speaking on comprehension through reading text and looking at text for our students. The book I chose today to speak on comprehension is a Pinata. This is a counting book. It is a book of numbers. Now, when we look at this book, we would speak with our students about the different images. These students, they don't quite look like myself or maybe some of the other students in our classroom. Especially this little boy right here. He has a mask on. So I wonder what this book is going to be about. So when we start speaking with our children about the books we're going to read, we're going to introduce the book. We're going to show the picture, the front cover of the book, and then we would ask questions about the book. What do you think this book is about? And that would be something I would ask prior to introducing the book. Look at this book. What do you think this book is about? And some of them might say, well, this book is about Halloween, because we know we dress up for Halloween. Maybe they're going to go to a party because these girls look like they're having a party. And then look at all of this stuff. What is this? Have you ever seen a piñata? What do you think a piñata is? Those are questions that we could ask before we ever open the book to see if they have any pre-knowledge of what the book is. So this book is One is a Piñata, a book of numbers. So now we know we're going to learn about numbers. And it is written by Roseanne Greenfeld Thong, illustrated by John Para. One is a piñata. One is a piñata, a book of numbers. One, uno. Uno. That means the number one. Uno is Spanish for the number one. One is a rainbow. One is a cake. One is a piñata that's ready to break. Now we could ask questions about these two pictures. We've read that one is a rainbow. One is the cake. One is a piñata that's ready to break. So what kind of celebration do you think we're going to have? And I'd give them a minute to look at it, and then I'd ask them again. Susie, what do you think they're going to have? What kind of celebration do you think they're going to have? And based upon a cake that looks like this and the presents that are down here, she may say that we're looking at a birthday party. I'd say, well, let's see. Two are maracas that we shake to the beat. Two are zapatos on my feet. Two, dos. Well, now our students know that two, we know what that word means. We know it means the number two. And now we're learning that dos is the Spanish word for two. But then we brought in a new word that they're probably not too sure of. They know that maracas, we've used maracas before, and we know that they are for making music. But we brought in a new word, and that word is zapatos. Now, they're not going to know what zapatos are. And so I would say, all right, listen to this one more time and tell me if you think you know what zapatos are. Two are zapatos on my feet. What are zapatos. Look at her feet right here. What does she have? She says, 2 are zapatos on my feet. Well, they may say that they're socks. But look at their feet. What do they have on their feet? They have shoes. That's right. And as you continue reading this book, there are many new words, new vocabulary words that they're going to use. They're going to learn. Of course, we're going to continue counting from 1 to 10. So we're going to go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're going to learn those words. But then we're going to learn new vocabulary words, new Spanish words. And in the back of our book here, if we look at the back of the book, this book has some, this book came with a glossary. And this is where we can help ourselves as educators learn what these words mean. We may not know what the word burbujas, which is bubbles. I believe I pronounced that right. Burbujas. That's the word for bubbles. Cantar, to count. Fiesta. We all know what fiesta means. We know that means we're going to have a party, a celebration, a party. Frutas, which is fruit. It also gives many different celebrations that maybe they're having. Maybe they're not just having one kind of fiesta. Maybe they're having different kinds of fiestas and things that they may do. So this book right here is very informative for students. Again, it's teaching them how to count, and it's teaching them different vocabulary words in a different language. So with the comprehension of this book, again, I would be asking questions concerning the pictures. What do you see? What do you think they're doing? What do you think burbujas are? What do you think they're doing? What are those? What would you be doing if that was you? What are you doing? Blowing bubbles. Or burbujas are bubbles. So what's a word for bubbles? Burbujas. So they're learning how to speak a second language. And then they're going to go home and they're going to say, I want burbujas. And their mom's going to be like, what? What is that? Well, they've learned a new word, burbujas. To tie this in, this may be a book that we read in small group when we're learning more about numbers, or this may be a whole group selection just because it's so fun. And one of the things I would do to tie this in is that I would have them draw something 1 through 10 that they would find at a party. So I would have each student have their own piece of paper, and I would let them draw what they might find. So we could draw a present, or a flower, or a balloon. Let's see, we're going to draw, because I find that I like to see balloons at parties. Now, I'm not the best artist, guys, so just kind of bear with me. So I would let them draw whatever they wanted to draw that reminded them of something that was in the book, something that they would find at a fiesta, at a party. And then, after they colored it in, because we've just drawn the outline, we want to add those details, I would write 1 balloon, or uno, and then I would put balloon as well, because I might not know what the Spanish word for balloon is, but I do know that uno is the word for one. And then we would color it, and then this would bring this book together in an activity. Now there are other books that you could read that to help children find the understanding and comprehension of a book. A great activity for that is to, especially if you're in the pre-K program, you've got those older students, is to have them take a piece of paper and they're going to fold it like they're making their own book. So they're going to fold it like this, kind of like they're making a certificate or a book or something. I can't quite recall the word I'm looking for. But when they open it, they then have 3 sections. And in this, after you've read the book, you would write first, middle, last, and then they would draw a picture of what happened first in the book, what happened in the middle of the book, and how it ended. What was the solution to the book? And that's a great way to get those older children thinking about the beginning of the book, the middle of the book, and the end of the book, the solution. That would go well with this book, The Fleas Sneeze. This book is written by Lynn Downey, illustrated by Carla Firehammer. Now this book right here is actually one of my children, who is much older now. This was one of our favorite books to read in the evening. It's called The Fleas Sneeze. And it's a fun book. It's enjoyable. And I have read it many times to many different age groups of students. But it says, on a dark night on an old farm in a rickety, tumble-down barn, everyone slept peacefully. So what time of night is it, do you think? It says everyone's sleeping. Everyone on the farm's asleep. The cow's asleep over here. The other cow, the pig, and everyone's asleep in the barn. Everyone's asleep. Even the owl. A rat, a cat, a black-eyed bat, a cow, an owl, a feathered fowl, a dog, a hog, an old barn frog. Everyone slept peacefully, but not the flea. Everyone's asleep in the farm, except for the flea. No one heard him cough. Look at the little flea. No one heard him cough. So at the beginning of the book, what was everyone doing? Everyone was asleep. That's right. So the first picture they could draw is all of the animals asleep, because everyone's asleep in the barn. Not even the mouse he used for a house, or the rat, or the cat, or the black-eyed bat, or the cow, or the owl, or the feathered fowl, or the dog, or the hog, or the old barn frog. They all slept peacefully, but not the flea. Okay, So what seems to be the problem in our book? Everyone's sleeping peacefully. Everyone but the flea. That's right. No one heard him sniffle. And then we go through all the animals again. No one's heard him sniffle. No one heard his garbled plea. Does anybody have a tissue for me? Again, the repeating of all the animals that are in the book. And that everyone slept peacefully except for that's right, the flea. Then suddenly, before he could cover his snoot, achoo! Oh goodness, it scared the rat who cried boo-hoo and woke the cat who hissed moo. It baffled the bat whose eyes turned blue and confused the cow who muttered moo, moo. It outraged the owl who hollered hoo, hoo. It flustered the fowl who crowed cock-a-doodle-doo. It daunted the dog who barked woof, woof, and sprayed the hog who screamed ew, and reminded the frog of his old nephew. But the mouse the flea used for a house kindly gave him a tissue. The flea wiped his nose, and before his eyes had even begun to close, he began to doze. For the rest of all that night, the dark, dark night, on the old, old farm, in the rickety-crickety, tumble-down barn, everyone slept peacefully. And then it goes back through all the animals that were on the farm. Everyone was sleeping peacefully, except this time for the hog. No one heard his garbled wheeze. I think I gotta sneeze. Oh no, what happened? What happened now? The mouse went to sleep. The flea went to sleep, but he's done passed his germs over to the hog. So, at the beginning of the story, what was happening? Everyone was asleep. What happened in the middle of the story? What was the problem in the story? That's right. The flea, he couldn't go to sleep. And then he sneezed and he woke everybody up. What was the solution? What fixed it? At the end of the story, what had happened? He received his tissue. And then everybody went back to sleep. But who wasn't asleep now? The pig. That's right. So that's one of the items that you could do with this book. It's a fun book. It's got a lot of rhyming words in it, a lot of repetitiveness in it that children can pick up on that, and then they can help you begin to read, help you take part of reading the book. So those are some of the kind of comprehension activities that can be done with different books. One was an informational book that we learned new vocabulary. We learned dual language was in there. And then the second book was just a fun book that had a lot of repeating of words in it that were simple words, words concerned about animals and animal sounds, things that children know. But those are ways that children are able to find meaning in text and that comprehension and help with their reading. So I hope that some of those activities are things that you could do with your friends in your classrooms And maybe you have activities that you can share with me that I can use in my classroom. But, excuse me, thank you for sharing with, coming in and joining me this evening, so that we can talk about that text comprehension. I hope that you guys learned something that maybe you can take away and use in your classrooms. Thank you again.